3 years after the downing of 2 Indian Air Force aircraft and capture of 1 pilot, the Indian Air Force is yet to recover from the humiliation at the hands of a far smaller adversary, the Pakistan Air Force, which exposed to the world the inherent military weakness of a nuclear-armed India. The Indian botched attempt to strike deep inside Pakistan following a false flag operation at Pulwama and counter-strike by the Pakistan Air Force on February 27 established its military and technological superiority, shattering to pieces the myth of Indian military might. On the 14th of February 2019, a young Kashmiri boy, resenting Indian oppression of Kashmiri people, drove a vehicle packed with explosives into a convoy of 78 buses carrying Indian paramilitary police in Pulwama, killing 40 CRPF personnel. Moments after the attack, the Indian media and government immediately blamed Pakistan before even the start of any investigation. Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan promised to conduct an investigation, provided Delhi could provide any actionable evidence. He, however, also warned that Pakistan would retaliate if attacked. Nevertheless, the Indians opted to carry out an air strike across the border on an imaginary terrorist training camp on the Pakistani side. The Indian authorities codenamed the attack on Balakot as Operation Bandar to minimize the chances of leaking the news. The word Bandar was chosen because monkeys enjoy a sacred place in the Hindu religion, and this refers to a tale in the religious myths of Hinduism where Hanuman, a deity who shows resemblance to the monkey, secretly entered Lanka and burned it to the ground. The Indian Air Force launched an aerial strike near Balakot on February 26, 2019, targeting a religious seminary that India described as a militant camp, and claimed killing more than 300 terrorists, but without sharing any shred of evidence to corroborate the claims. The well-rehearsed operation involving 20 Mirage 2000 aircrafts carrying Spice 2000 and Crystal Maze missiles had the support of airborne early warning systems. They failed to deliver their payload on the target despite practicing on the simulator and pre-fed coordinates on the bombs. According to Hindustan Times on February 26, 2019, at 3:45 am, the then Air Chief B.S. Dhanoa made a telephone call to National Security Advisor Ajit Doval on a secure fixed-line network and said, "Bandar mara gaya, the monkey has been killed," but at the end of the day, the reality proved that they just made a monkey of themselves. Following the strike, Prime Minister Imran Khan in a hard-hitting statement categorically said, "India has committed uncalled for aggression to which Pakistan shall respond at the time and place of its choosing. Armed forces and the people of Pakistan to remain prepared for all eventualities." The Indian aircraft dropped their payload near a hillside, killing 1 crore and damaging a few precious pine trees, an act which prompted Prime Minister Imran Khan to repeatedly say that he was very hurt, as trees were very close to his heart. Military attaché and foreign media also later visited the site and also went to the nearby madrasa of local village children, who were lucky enough to escape the Indian recklessness. India claimed that its air force had managed to kill more than 300 terrorists while Pakistan, but several international observers negated the claim as there were no casualties and the bombs had clearly missed the target, which in fact was not a terrorist camp, but an ordinary religious school for the village children. The Pakistanis are bound to react conventionally and not through a proxy like a militant group, Rahul Bedi, an analyst at the London-based Jane's Information Group, told the New York Times. Where they react and when is something that only Pakistanis know. The newspaper pointed out that in the run-up to Indian elections this spring, and with Modi facing a fierce re-election fight, voters have demanded that New Delhi respond to the Kashmir attack with force against Pakistan. What they hit is speculation for now, Bedi said. This is more political symbolism than anything else. Mr. Modi had to show some demonstrable action on India's part ahead of elections. In response, Pakistan Air Force launched a counter-strike on February 27, 2019, intended primarily to demonstrate Pakistan's resolve. The strike was carefully crafted to avoid casualties on the ground. During the short aerial encounter that followed, Pakistan Air Force shot down 2 Indian Air Force aircraft and captured one of the pilots. The debris of the Su-30 fell in Indian-occupied Kashmir and its pilot was killed, while the MiG-21 pilot wing commander Abhinandan Vartaman, whose aircraft fell on the Pakistan side, was captured alive. The success of the Pakistan Air Force in Operation Swift Retort against a far bigger adversary is now observed as a surprise day every year. Hours later, the jittery Indian Air Force shot down its own Mi-17 helicopter with Spider air defense system, killing 6 Air Force personnel and 1 civilian. India claimed that one of its MiG-21 shot down Pakistan's F-16 aircraft, which was also refuted by the influential Foreign Policy magazine based on interviews with the US Department of Defense officials who verified that no F-16 was missing from the Pakistani inventory. According to the magazine, Pakistan invited the US to physically count its F-16 planes after the incident as part of an end-user agreement signed when the foreign military sale was finalized. Some of the aircraft were not immediately available for inspection due to the conflict, so it took US personnel several weeks to account for all of the jets, one US official said. But now the count has been completed, and all aircraft were present and accounted for, the official said. While the Indian so-called surgical strike was being touted by India as a great success and declared as a new norm, but on the other hand, India's senior leadership blamed the failure on the non-availability of aircraft like Rafale, which according to them would have changed the outcome of Balakot crisis. Even the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi admitted the failure of his air force, and while speaking at the India Today event said, "Today, all of India is saying that if we had the Rafale, then the result would have been different." Pakistan's response was intended to deter war and establish nuclear deterrence, the success of which could be gauged by the fact that India could not move up the escalation ladder and back down. Of one Indian pilot, Wing Commander Abhinandan Vartaman. The skirmish proved Pakistan Air Force's air superiority over Indian Air Force, but also restored conventional strategic balance between the two nuclear-armed powers. On February 27, the military's media wing said Pakistan Air Force had engaged 6 targets at the line of control. The then Director General Inter-Service Public Relations of Pakistan, Major General Asif Ghafoor, termed it a conscious decision not to attack any military target and avoid any collateral damage. He said one of the targets initially picked was a military administrative complex. However, the Pakistan Air Force Command decided against hitting it. As a result of engaging our targets, no human life was affected. Staying within our jurisdiction, 6 targets were locked. And we carried out the strike, he said. He said the objective of the strikes was to show, we have the capacity and the will to respond, but we deliberately avoided the escalation path. Pakistan is not pushing for war. We engaged our targets in open air, we deliberately avoided escalation. We could easily have taken the original targets, but we did not do that, Major General Asif Ghafoor said. A day later, Prime Minister Imran Khan, in his address to a joint parliamentary session on February 28, 2019, said, "In our desire for peace, I announce that tomorrow, and as a first step to open negotiations, Pakistan will be releasing the Indian Air Force officer in our custody." His decision was hailed by top world leaders as a great peace gesture. Wing Commander Abhinandan was treated well, in line with the Geneva Conventions, provided new dress and of course the famous cup of tea, on which he had remarked, "Tea was fantastic." He was handed over to the Indian authorities on March 1, 2019 at the Wagha border. Defense officials say Pakistan has credible conventional responses designed to meet different contingencies, known as the policy of quid pro quo plus, which has not only reinforced the credibility of Pakistan's nuclear deterrence but has also helped restore confidence in conventional deterrence. After experiencing humiliation at the hands of Pakistan Air Force in February 2019, India has gone on yet another arms and ammunition shopping spree, without realizing that it is in fact the man behind the machine and his strong nerves that matter. However, the best sum-up came from Director General Inter-Service Public Relations of Pakistan, Major General Baba Iftikhar, who while giving a recap of the February 2019 events had said, "We gave them a bloody nose and it is still hurting." Please comment below and give us your opinion about Operation Swift Retort.
What is your name? Hey, Commander. I hope you have been treated well over there with us.
Yes, I have, and I would like to put this on record. And I will not change my statement if I go back to my country also. The officers of the Pakistani army have looked after me very well. They are thorough gentlemen, starting from the captain who rescued me from the mob and from this Jamaat, from the soldiers. And thereafter, the officers officers into the unit which I was taking. This is what I would expect my army to behave as, and I am very impressed by the Pakistani army.
Okay, wonderful. So, Wing Commander, you hail from which place in India?
Am I supposed to tell you this, Major? I'm sorry. I'm from down south.
You're from down south. Okay. And are you married?
Yes, I am.
You're married.
Yes.
I hope you like the tea.
The tea is fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more headlines.